Theory Sabers official launch very soon. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at Theory Sabers. How did Asajj Ventress originally die? Now that she's alive again in the Bad Batch, they have a lot of explaining to do. But in order to understand the present, we need to understand the past. Here is a summation of how Asajj Ventress originally died in canon in the novel Dark Disciple. Now, let me first start off by saying that Quinlan Voss was sent on an undercover mission by the Jedi Council to basically spy on Count Dooku. Asajj being Count Dooku's apprentice is where these two met and eventually fell in love. A very unorthodox way of falling in love, even for Jedi. Now, Count Dooku, once a very noble Jedi himself, having become the treacherous Sith Lord and leader of the Separatists, was a constant thorn in the Republic's side. His cunning and manipulation had orchestrated a galaxy-wide war, and the Jedi grew increasingly weary of battling him with conventional tactics. He was extremely intelligent and very powerful. It was Master Yoda who proposed this daring scheme to get in with Dooku, get closer to him, and take him out. Jedi Master Quinlan Voss was a maverick, really, whose connection to the Force teetered on the edge of both light and dark, in my opinion. Voss, just like Cal Kestis, was extremely proficient in psychometric abilities called psychometry, and his very unconventional methods is what gave him this mission that no real Jedi should really ever take. To gain Dooku's trust, Voss would have to infiltrate the Sith Lord's inner circle by embracing the very darkness that threatened to consume him. However, he couldn't do this alone. So the Jedi Council paired him with an unlikely accomplice, a woman who understood the allure of the dark side, who had walked its treacherous path for years, Asajj Ventress. Former apprentice to Dooku, discarded and filled with a thirst for vengeance, Ventress was a dangerous wild card. You could never trust her. You never knew which side she would choose and at what moment. Ventress always danced to her own tune. She was a constant force of chaos, yet deep down, a flicker of vulnerability still lingered in her eyes, a reminder of the tragedy that molded her into the fearsome assassin that she had become. Now, if you guys want to learn more about Asajj Ventress, I'll be releasing videos this week about her. But even beyond that, you can go and check out the book Dooku, Jedi Lost, which goes into her younger years. Now, from the shadows, the Jedi Council orchestrated their secret meeting. Quinlan Voss, undercover and fiending in exile and fall from grace, encountered Ventress in the murky underworld. Initially wary, their shared resentment and pain over Dooku's betrayal forged a weird bond, to put it lightly. Quinlan and Ventress, two lost souls, were mirrors of each other, one light, one dark, yet also glimmers of something brighter buried within if they come together. The Jedi Council had made a very risky gamble, but they were desperate. Their hope was that Ventress, driven by her desire for revenge, would guide Quinlan Voss to Dooku. Voss, in turn, would manipulate the path Dooku set forth, hopefully bringing them close enough to strike. Yet, what the Council had not calculated was the volatile amount of raw emotion brewing between the two agents that they had unleashed. With each shared mission, each close call, and every whispered secret in the hushed corners of the galaxy, a connection began to form between the Jedi and the ex-Sith. Now, some might debate that she's a Sith or she's a dark side user. I wouldn't call her a Sith. I'd say she's more of a dark sider, but I mean, hey, she's every much a Sith or not a Sith as Darth Maul. There was an unspoken recognition of the trauma that they both carried. His master murdered by her hand, her people massacred under his orders. Yet, in their joint quest, they found solace in survival. And then, of course, the unexpected happened. On the desolate landscape of Dathomir, surrounded by the ghosts of her slaughtered night sisters, Ventress opened herself up fully to Quinlan. She bared her soul, exposing her darkest deeds and deepest fears. To her astonishment, Quinlan Voss met her with no judgment, but rather a strange form of understanding from his own flirtations, we could say, with the shadows. In this desolate place, steeped in death and the remnants of Ventress's past, they began to train, Voss succumbing to the seductive draw of the dark side, as Ventress taught him the forbidden arts of the Night Sisters. Under the blood-red moons, his powers grew with a terrifying intensity. Yet with each step deeper into darkness, their bond also deepened. As the lines blurred between Jedi and Sith, so too did the lines between ally and something far more profound. They fought side by side, saved each other countless times, and through combat learned to predict each other's moves with an intimacy that bordered on instinctual, much like Anakin and Obi-Wan. The walls that Ventress so carefully erected began to crumble under Voss's quiet acceptance of her past, while his own inner turmoil found an unsettling voice in her. It was during a stolen moment of respite on a forgotten planet, a sliver of tranquility amidst the chaos they had cultivated, that their feelings crystallized into an undeniable truth. They confessed their love, a love formed in battle, tainted by the darkness they both flirted with, but also undeniably genuine in its shared vulnerability. Theirs was a doomed romance, a fleeting flicker in an ever-raging galactic war. They knew it from the start. Ventress, despite her growing affection, was still fueled by a need for revenge, and Voss danced a dangerous tightrope between his mission and his growing descent into darkness. Now, Asajj's death was, I'd say, more of a fault of both of them, and both of their planning for her struggle for redemption. And this was really the final straw that just took Quinlan Voss over the edge for his balance, really. They very carefully planned an assassination attempt on Dooku, which unfolded in a whirlwind of lightsabers and crackling dark energy, which I would love to see in an animated form, or heck, if they want to do some live-action deepfake or something that's going on at Lucasfilm, that would be pretty sweet too. Quinlan Voss, now almost fully consumed by the dark side, became Dooku's twisted new apprentice, a testament to his downfall, but all for the greater good, or at least that's what he told himself. It was then that Ventress showed her true heart. In a bid to free Voss from Dooku's clutches, she challenged her former master. The duel was absolutely brutal, a testament to Ventress's true powers and her desperation and, well, love. Every parry, every strike was fueled by newfound love for the man who had shown her that there could be a different path. But Dooku was powerful, his cruelty amplified by the betrayal of his once loyal assassin. Now keep in mind, Dooku was arguably the best lightsaber duelist in the entire galaxy, and he was extremely powerful in the Force. In the end, Asajj Ventress made the ultimate sacrifice. As Dooku unleashed a torrent of Force lightning, poised to destroy Quinlan, Ventress threw herself in its path willingly. The lightning surged through her, burning her spirit from the inside out. As she collapsed, her final gaze upon Voss was filled with a plea for him to find his way back from the abyss, from the darkness. Her broken body dissolved into the ethereal winds of Dathomir, carried away into the twilight sky. Her death was a catalyst, a shattering blow to Quinlan Voss. Filled with despair and a desperate need to avenge the woman who had loved him, he unleashed the full wrath of the dark side upon Dooku. Though his rage gave him temporary strength, it could not save him from himself. In the aftermath of her death, Voss was pulled back from the brink by the Jedi Council. His mind was shattered, his spirit almost irreparably broken. Yet, through the agony of his loss, he eventually found his way back to the light. The memory of Asajj Ventress, her final selfless act in the name of love, became the beacon that guided his healing. Asajj Ventress's legacy was a stark reminder of the complexities of the Force and the inherent potential for both good and evil within each one of us. Her story was a tale of tragedy, of love, the ultimate battle between light and dark, a battle that waged not just within the confines of a galactic war, but within the soul of every being touched by the Force. And so with this death, it was such a profound ending to her story and her character arc, where, she was a Jedi, then she was a dark side user, a Sith if you want to call it that, a separatist, a bounty hunter. And after all of that, she gave herself up to the man she loved so that she could turn him back to the light with her dying breath, her last wish. So her returning now in the Bad Batch makes absolutely no sense, of course, and I don't know if it demeans this death, this ending, because there was one thing she said at the very end of the episode. It was the fact that she says, "I still have a few more lives left." So I don't really know what she means by that. Is that some sort of like Dathomirian witch thing where she has a bunch of lives where she can return, or how does it work? I don't really know. I'm sure they'll have some sort of an explanation, but this was the gist of what I remember from Asajj Ventress's death from the Dark Disciple book. Now, if you want to go read it or listen to it yourself, I highly encourage you to do so. It's a great read. or listen, and I'm really curious to see how they're going to make sense of her survival. Somehow, Asajj returned. So I personally think that she's going to go ahead and probably be one of the more focused characters going forwards in Star Wars, especially with Ahsoka Season 2, perhaps, and maybe even with a Dave Filoni movie that we're going to be getting. I, for one, I don't like this kind of a move where, she died so poetically, but with the, I'd say, not lack of female Star Wars Force sensitives, but lack of good, well-written Star Wars female Force sensitive characters, I would say that Asajj Ventress is by far my favorite. I think she is super cool, super badass, and she transcends time in all of Star Wars. She just has gone through so much and been through so much, and she's been with all the main characters, and she kind of brings that level of nostalgia to every scene because it's like, okay, she has been there from the beginning sort of thing. So I think that they can do a lot of good with her character going forwards because, what do we have? We got Rey, which is debatably not very popular. We have Reva, who was really poorly written and breaks canon in so many different ways. We have Ahsoka, who's cool, but she kind of has already peaked her character arc. We have Sabine, who is, I think, just too powerful in the Force, and she really shouldn't even be using the Force. Just make her like a really cool Mandalorian. And then now we have Asajj Ventress again. So it's good that we have this character to return and kind of remind us of, hey, this is the real deal right here. Let me know what you think of Asajj Ventress's death and what it meant to Quinlan Voss and the overall story, as well as her return. Do you think it undermines everything? Are you cool with it? Do you want to see more, or are you just against it entirely? As always, leave a like on this video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks so much for watching today. Have a great rest of your evening, and may the Force be with you always.